See, I'm falling, feelings keep evolving. Never thought I'd feel this way. I know what you want to say. Living in the moment.
Yes, thank you all for tuning in with me. This is Self-Care Wednesdays. Yes, I appreciate you listening to me this evening or the daytime or whatever time you are listening to my episodes. I appreciate all of your time that you are spending with me. Yes, this is Self-Care Wednesdays once again on the Creative Lips podcast, and this is episode number 79. Yes, I'm going to be getting into a topic just briefly today. I'm going to be talking a little bit about, are you not getting enough sleep? Why are you not sleeping well? You know, maybe you have battled it. I know I'm battling it. Off and on, I have battled it. And, you know, I just want to get into talking a little bit about, you know, how can we address this issue for good? You know, or take steps so that we can get into the habit of getting adequate sleep, guys. Yes. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. All right, guys. So let's get into it right now. Yes. All right, y'all. So now, as you know, if you have been listening to me, I like to give words of encouragement. Just words that could get you through whatever you are going through. You know, because some of us need to hear it. I always say that. I know I need to hear it. I need to give myself self-affirmations on a daily basis so that I can get through it. You know, whatever I'm going through, whatever month, year, day, whatever, you know, it helps me to, you know, so that I can just function, you know, on a daily basis. You know, that little bit of a pick-me-up. And, you know, that whoever is listening to this episode, whatever situation that is faced before you, only you know what it is. Only you know what situation you are trying to get out of, you are trying to start, you are trying to stop. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is, I know that you will make it through. Because situations doesn't last forever. Trust me, it doesn't. You will see that light at the end of the tunnel, and it will shine so bright for you that it will just be unbelievable. You will be so amazed of the outcome. And speaking of outcomes, sometimes things don't happen when you want it to happen. You know what I'm saying? But you want to know what, y'all? It will happen in perfect timing. In perfect timing. Just right on time for you. All right? All right, guys. All right. Now, I also like to give a little bit of a disclaimer because my Self-Care Wednesdays are geared, you know, they normally are geared towards mental health. And I am in no way, no shape, no form a licensed psychologist or a licensed therapist. Okay? So I just wanted to put that disclaimer out there. You know, my Self-Care Wednesdays, even though, you know, I'm talking about it and it is from my own experience and some things that I have been through, some steps that I have learned along the way, whether it may be through therapy on my own account or, you know, just like I said, you know, my own experience and my own opinion too, as well. So I just want to put that little bit of disclaimer out there for you all, just to let you know about my Self-Care Wednesdays. All right, guys. So, you know, just like I said, are you not getting enough of sleep? Are you not? Is it hard for you to, you know, wind down at the end of the night? Or are you tired of waking up more tired than when you went to bed? You know what I'm saying? Does it seem like a good night's sleep is more elusive than a half remembered dream that you might have? It may be you even having a tough time falling or staying asleep because chances are the cause of either one of those things, it's something that you are doing or something that you are not doing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Now, if these apply to you, then keep on listening. And if it doesn't, then, you can still listen. I like your support. Or you can forward this to someone else that this might be of help to them. Because there are a lot of things that can hinder us from getting that adequate sleep at night on a daily basis. They always say that we are supposed to have that full 8 hours of sleep. Now, is that true? Is that true? I mean, do you all think that that's true, that we are supposed to get a full 8 hours of sleep? And, it may also affect your physical and mental too if you don't get this. Because lack of sleep may also cause you to have, those reoccurring headaches and so forth. But I'm going to talk more about that just a little bit later on in the episode about what are the outcomes that could happen to you if you don't get the adequate sleep. So now let's first start talking about, what are some of the causes that could apply to you when you don't address this and when you don't get enough sleep. Now, it could be several things, just like I said. It's to each his own. Whatever you do when you're trying to wind down in the middle of the night, it's up to you on what your ritual is that you normally do. Now, I know in my case, there are a lot of things that I used to do which caused me to stay up all night long, honestly. I thought I had insomnia, but until it was I had to really realize and sit down and really look at some of the things that I do on a daily basis, which caused me not to get that good sleep, that good, deep, deep sleep. I know number one was you would drink before you go to bed, like alcohol before bedtime, some of you. Some people say they need that nightcap. They call it the nightcap. Some people need that, so that it can help them wind down. Some people, they drink and drink and drink until they can't drink no more, Some of the alcoholics out there, you know what I'm saying? Honestly, but however, because a single glass of wine can be the winner, not the winner, for some, make you feel good, you know what I'm saying? But however, it could be, maybe that's the main reason, the culprit that is causing you not to get enough sleep. Because the initial effect of alcohol, it's supposed to be for relaxation, right? When you drink it, you get relaxed. And then some of you probably drop off to sleep, But alcohol actually, listen to this, y'all. Alcohol actually really interferes with your sleep cycle. That includes dreaming, when you get into that deep sleep. The result of this is fragmented, and of course, it could be very unrefreshing rest. You can't get that real rested, refreshed rest like when you wake up without drinking alcohol in the morning and you feel good. Plus, you're likely to wake up needing to use the bathroom a lot of times during the night. A definite hint that, this could probably be one of the things that you might need to cut out before you go to sleep. If you are having major trouble not sleeping at night, this is what I used to do, because I did used to have, a glass of wine or my little mixed drink or whatever, before I went to sleep. And this is what I did. I limited my alcohol use, especially in the evening. I had to do that. And especially it would give me like night sweats, guys. Yes. Disgusting. Gross. And which caused me to wake up out of my sleep, and just like I said earlier, I would have to go to the bathroom, you know what I'm saying? So that's just an easy fix to just do that, limit the amount of alcohol, especially before you go to bed, guys. And that could help you. That could definitely help you. You know what I'm saying? And it could also be to like your room temperature. How is your room temperature? Is your room temperature fine? Is your room temperature comfortable to where you can have that deep sleep? Because most sleep experts recommend keeping your bedroom at a moderate temperature, like between 65 to 72 degrees at night. The fix that I used to do, this is the thing that I used to do. I adjusted the thermostat, and then I would put on thick socks. Yes, I would put on like socks that was all the way up to the middle of my calf. And I also had used a fan too. And the fan helped me with the white noise. I love using the fan, and it helped me a lot, and that's something that helped adjusted my temperature in my place. Because I know sometimes my temperature can just go up, and sometimes it'll be sweltering in my bedroom, even in the wintertime. And even if I cut it down, then my room will be cold. So it's like kind of tricky. I think it's my windows or whatever. But however, having that fan, it helped balance everything out in my room, the temperature, and which caused me to sleep really good. You know what I'm saying? And another thing too, that you always have to have a good bed. You know what I'm saying? Because that bed can also hinder you. It can hinder you from not sleeping at all, guys. Yes. If you don't have a comfortable bed, why not invest in yourself? People always buy things that they don't need. If you have the means and the money to buy, things, then people buy stuff that they don't need, and think about it. All those things, or that cup of coffee, or whatever the case may be that you buy on a daily basis, if you add that all up, you could buy a new bed, a comfortable bed. The study shows that the things that you should invest in your life, number one is a good bed. Number two is a good computer. A good computer. And I ain't talking about no cheap computers that you get out there on some Black Friday. And you shouldn't even be buying a computer on Black Friday anyway, because those computers are trash. I'm telling you, from an IT standpoint, those computers are trash. Don't buy a computer on Black Friday, because 9 times out of 10, those computers are trash. You know what I'm saying? Invest in yourself, guys. Invest in a good computer too. And, but getting, not getting off of the subject, but getting back on to, sleeping and investing into yourself. I'm telling you, buy a good bed. You know what I'm saying? Don't be buying no $80 bed or 100. I don't know if they even have $180 beds, but whatever. Just buy a bed that is very comfortable for you, that you can have for a longevity. You know what I'm saying? Or as long as the life cycle of it. You know what I'm saying? And then when it's depleted, then buy another good bed. Invest in your body. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm telling you, it will pay off over time and your body will thank you. So, have that less stress and then have that less worry, by just investing into yourself. Now, getting into the less stress and less worry, it's probably one of the most common things that keeps people up all night long is worrying. Worrying about things that you can't fix right away. You know what I'm saying? During the day, all the activities of life tend to distract us. But once you settle down and you have that downtime and it's just you in the bed, your mind is free to roam. And once you let it loose, for most people, it's not good. Especially those aspects that you are trying to get over. Those situations that you have in your lives that, your mind chooses to focus on, but rather the negative. You start focusing on what you could have did or what you should, do. Now, the thing that I do is I do it in several ways. I always talk about this on my podcast. I always talk about writing down things. I know you hear a lot of people talking about write it down, make a list, but it's the truth. Write stuff down, guys, because you never know. Things might work out for you in the end run. And it might materialize too if you're writing down to manifest. Because if you write down your worries before bedtime, along with a few things that you are grateful for, this will be the game changer right there. Because you can look at it, get out all of that shit that you are thinking about, whatever it may be. I don't care what it is. You're getting out all that stuff on paper, and then you're going to counteract it with writing down the stuff that you are grateful for. Because what's that going to do is that's going to smooth it out. And actually, when you start writing down things that you're grateful for, you start getting a sense of peace and calmness in your mind and in your body. You really, I think this is really beneficial. I'm not going to, chastise y'all and tell you really need to do this. I was just about to say that, but it's to each his own. Whatever you feel is best for you. Because if you really start to, get all in your emotions and then you're going to start to get out of the bed, you know what I'm saying? And then you're going to start turning on the lights and then, this can break your sleep, so you can really break the worry cycle and calm your mind quickly, if you do this. And then once you do that, you'll have enough time, space, and calmness in your mind to return right back to bed. And you can also do a meditation practice. Try your best to look up different, mantras that you can say to yourself on a daily basis. Look it up. Look up mantras to say before bed. Look that up. Mantras to say before sleep or before bed. You don't have to be an expert, guys. You don't have to be an expert in meditation. You don't have to be an expert in doing none of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because if you just take out that 10 minutes, because think about it, that time that you're sitting up worrying and laying in the bed, you could have took 10 minutes from out of that, to calm your mind and write down things and, get it all out. And then, just release and let go. Just release and let go of the day or whatever you're worrying and stressing about. So now getting into what are the effects if you don't address, not getting sleep. What can happen to you? I was talking about a couple of minutes ago. I was basically saying that you can get frequent headaches. You could have trouble concentrating too as well, if you don't get enough sleep. And you can also get irritable. And there are other things that could, cause people from not being able to sleep. Some people might have sleep disorders like sleep apnea. Or you could, maybe have restless leg syndrome. That could really trigger your sleep patterns really bad. And the last one is delayed sleep phase disorder. Now, that is another condition that can affect your sleep. Yes, but this condition causes a delay in a 24-hour cycle of sleep and wakefulness. You may not feel sleepy or fall asleep until the middle of the night. Now, this sleep cycle makes it harder for you to wake up in the early morning and leads to daytime fatigue. So if you have any of those disorders, by all means, check with your doctor. Check with your doctor and, see if you can probably try, if you can get some type of help, in regards to, seeing if you have any of these underlying causes of things that is not allowing you to have that physical sleep, that good sleep, and, just talk to your doctor and just make sure that you are getting the right, supplements, or, you don't have to get any medicine. You can get over the counter herbal supplements that you can take that can maybe possibly help you go to sleep, like melatonin. Maybe your melatonin levels are low. It could be a lot of factors that's causing you not to be able to sleep, not to be able to have that good bedtime regimen, that good bedtime routine, so that you can have a good sleep. And, just like I said, once again, try to have that sleep diary. Every night, if you are not being able to sleep when you're writing, you can also write about, day one, I slept this way or that way, whatever it may be. You should record your entire day's activity, to be honest, if you are having sleep problems, because these activities, if you incorporate these activities with your daily habits, it can also help you, with the things you eat, the things you consume, all of everything, your mood, anything that could help you, combat, the reason why you are not able to have a good quality of sleep on a daily basis. So, you can also reach out to a sleep specialist too as well. They have so many outlets out there for you all to do, so that you can have, the best night's sleep of your life, guys. You know what I'm saying? So try your best to do that. And I'm telling you, it will be so beneficial for you if you was to do these things. You know what I'm saying? And, because poor sleep quality, is very detrimental to your health. Just like I mentioned, you can have so many other things that can happen to you, in your body that can weaken your immune system. And it could also result into, getting sicker, and especially with what's going on out here. You want to make sure that you are taking the best care of you, because, I know my mother used to always tell me, you only got one you know what I'm saying? So take care of you.
Pull up my select.
Yes, take care of you guys. And I'm telling you, you will, your body will thank you. You know what I'm saying? In the end. Yes, in the end. You know what I'm saying? Yes, guys. So now the number one tip that I got from out all of this, the best way is to have your typical bedtime, set aside as a ritual on a daily basis, and try to have a routine. If you can stick to that routine, in the end, you will master having a good sleep at night. Because, these good choices are, all the things that I said and tips and steps, but it's up to you to really be in tune with the things that you want to have going on in your life that is positive, on a positive level. If you are sleep deprived, and if something that you are trying to, combat is one of the things that you are trying to combat, by all means, listen to some of the tips and steps that I said. They may be very helpful for you. You never know unless you try. And that's all that we can do is just try. You never know. It might help you. So keep on doing what's best for you. Because just like I said, everybody's situation is different as to why they are sleep deprived. Because, you might be a new mother. And that may be another topic that I might talk about too as well. About my experience on being a mother and taking care of your baby and, trying to have a schedule and that, and so forth. But that's another topic for another show. You know what I'm saying? But however, try your best to ease into it and, by limiting certain things. And in the end, you will get some sleep, the sleep that you deserve. Yes, guys. All right, guys. Yes. All right. So, hey, I appreciate you all tuning in with me for this Self-Care Wednesdays. Yes, this is episode number 79, guys. And come on, guys. Follow me on all my social media. Follow me on Creative Lips Podcast on Instagram. Yes. And also don't forget to leave me that 5-star rating, guys. And leave me a review. Yes. Don't forget, guys. Come on. Support a sister. And also follow me on Twitter. Because you want to know what, guys? I post stuff there too. All right, guys. Get that sleep. Until next time.
But now you're shining so bright. Yeah, you can be my twilight. Just wanna hear you say it's alright. Don't wanna think about the bad night. And yeah, you're shining so bright. Yeah, you can be my twilight. Just wanna hear you say it's alright. Don't wanna think about the bad night. Wait a minute, I don't wanna let you go.
You are now listening to episode 79 of the Creative Lips Podcast.